Hello and welcome to Hanratty on Karate. Over the last couple of episodes I gave you my impressions and also some deeper history on the origins of the Red Triangle Karate Club in Liverpool, which is a club I was very familiar with and has a really interesting history, not just because of where it is, which is an interesting building, but because of the people who train there, some true legends, still training, still teaching, and still highly regarded throughout the world as some of the best instructors and best proponents of karate, that ever came out of one club. Now, having said that, not everybody who comes out of a great club is great at karate, and this is the same thing all over. So, how do you get to pick a club that's really good? Now, you might not want to do it just purely on reputation alone. It depends what you're looking for. Now, there were some great competitors came out of the Red Triangle, but not everybody competed. That didn't mean to say they weren't any good at karate. They definitely were. Some of them you just wouldn't want to go in the ring against. Definitely wouldn't want to go into the street against them. But they all started somewhere, and they all had different reasons for doing what they did. So what happens if you're new to karate now? It's changed. It's changed immensely over the 50 plus years actually, since I first started. And it's not just changed in people's perception of it, it's actually changed in the nature of the beast, in the nature of the training. It's not as hard, it's not as intensive. There's different styles, there's millions of different styles now. When I first started to look at karate, I didn't know what karate was. I just heard it was this esoteric style. This was before Bruce Lee and all of these guys came out, so it wasn't like I was following a fad. It was just something that I'd kind of heard of and hadn't really done any deep dives into it to see if it was what I wanted to do. But once I started doing it, once I'd kind of satisfied my curiosity as to what it was, I definitely wanted to do it. But let's have a look at if you're going into a club now and you think you might want to do karate. So if you're new at karate, the first thing is it's extremely confusing because you probably want to know what style you're going to do. Now, when I started, we didn't know there was styles in karate. I just joined the Red Triangle and I happened to be Shotokan. It's probably one of the original styles to come out of Okinawa. And it's not really a style, it's named after Funakoshi, whose pen name was Shoto and Kan was the place he trained at, so Shotokan. And it was pushed by the JKA, the Japan Karate Association, which wasn't as massive an organization then as it is now. Nowadays it's massive. But there's loads of organizations and there's loads of splits within organizations and styles. So if you're looking to go into karate now, basically ask yourself why, all right? Now, I can tell you why. I find it's an amazing balance between physical and mental capacity. It helps you concentrate, it develops your mind as well as your body, and it keeps you fit, okay? The big obvious plus for me was fitness. I was a fitness nut when I was younger. I certainly wasn't as flexible as a lot of people in the club. It was quite humbling to see what they could do. When you first go in, you're going to feel very humble and humiliated. Well, not so much humiliated, but you're going to say, oh, well, I'm going to try and do it. I hope I can do it, and away you go. So this is in a club aspect, and basically your first relationship when you go into a club, having decided that you want to do karate for whatever reason you come up against, or maybe you're taking your kids to karate, you want them to be coordinated, you want to increase their concentration, which it will. You're going to get them fitter, they're going to be sharper, they're going to learn resilience, they're going to build strength, probably through adversity, but it's better. That's the best way to build strength of mind, strength of body, is through adversity. You're going to exercise every single muscle in your body, whether you want to or not. It's not like other recreational things where you only exercise in certain parts of your body. You're going to build stamina, you're going to build cardio fitness, you're going to build muscular strength and flexibility, and you're going to learn how to move and coordinate your movements so that your whole body acts as one unit. Okay, doesn't happen in every sport. You're going to learn the differences between slow and fast, soft and strong. And this goes back to the old Chinese symbol, yin and yang. And if you look in martial arts, it's quite a common symbol. Yin and yang, it's like interior, exterior, soft, hard, fast, slow. It's all the opposites, but they meld together. And you do this in karate quite often. You'll do a movement, and you'll do it nice and slow so that you can follow the path of the movement. It might be a block, it might be a punch, it might be a kick or a strike, or even a throw. But you'll maybe do it slow to start so that you can see which muscles are coming into play, how the technique is performed, what makes it work, how to do it wrong, how to do it right. But as sure as there's green apples, you're going to be asked also to do it fast. So you're going to pick up the speed. You're going to learn how to relax and how to move fast. And relaxation is usually at the start of the technique, so your muscles can move fast, and then tension at the end of the technique to impart kinetic energy into whatever target is in front of you, whatever technique you're using. So differences in movement, differences in learning how to get your neural pathways to the muscles that you need in the techniques that you're using. All of this is really useful. And when you're new at karate, it's quite frustrating, all right? Because the pathways aren't there. The coordination's probably not there. Now, I'm not saying it's the same for everyone. Some people, extremely coordinated, extremely flexible, maybe even strong. But you're not going to get all that straight away. You're going to develop it. And that's the great thing about karate. It does develop. Okay, so what do you look for when you're joining a club these days? Because it's, as I say, it's entirely different from when I first started. There's so many things that are thrown at you as to what karate is and what it isn't. And nowadays, everybody seems to call some esoterical activity karate or oriental-based activity karate. And that's wrong. Karate is two words, empty hand, okay? I came about from the Okinawan roots where it was Teido and then Okinawan Tei and then Karate. And we had the do suffix and it's just D-O, but it's pronounced do, like you do in baking, dough, just to show that as a spiritual way. So this is the way of karate. The way of karate is a little bit different than just doing karate. And the first element, of course, in karate, real traditional karate, is self-defense. It's not competitions, it's not sport, it's not running around dojo or kicking bags and all this. That's all part of your training, but the real essence of it is self-defense, and this is the way to develop self-defense and develop character. Self-defense is a massive, broad subject. You can defend yourself verbally. You can argue against the person and win an argument. That's kind of a self-defense thing. Then you can go into all other aspects of self-defense. If you're attacked or somebody's verbally abusing you or physically abusing you or intends to, then all of this will give you at least an understanding of how to deal with this stuff. Because the one thing that karate will do for you, and I'm talking about good karate, is give you self-confidence. And self-confidence is a form of self-defense. If you're walking along and you exude self-confidence, it's most unlikely that you're going to be the victim of an attack. Predators look for prey. They don't look for other predators, or they don't look to somebody who might just hit them back. Okay, as a famous saying of Mike Tyson's, everyone's got a plan till you get punched in the mouth. And that's true. And it's like burglars. You break into a house, you don't break into a house that you think you're going to get caught at. Okay? If you're going to do a robbery, you don't do a robbery at a place that you're likely to get caught doing a robbery. And it's the same. You pick a fight with somebody, you're not likely to pick a fight with somebody who's going to beat you up, or at least resist to such an extent that you're going to get injured. There's a really old saying in karate do, and it probably goes back to Chinese chuan fa, is two tigers fight. One dies today, the other one dies tomorrow. tigers don't fight that much, okay? Most animals in the animal kingdom, they don't fight to kill unless it's prey and predators. But if it's just competition, say for females or food or even for rights of land and stuff like that, they don't fight to kill. As long as the other guy backs off and goes away, they're happy with it. So it's just very often territorial or breeding or food. It'd be nice if humans were like that too, but unfortunately it's not that way. Getting back to what you're looking at these days when you go to a so-called karate studio, there's originally only 5 or 6 styles: Goju-ryu, Shito-ryu, Shotokan, Wado-ryu, and probably Kokushinkai. You can put them in the styles that are around about the 50s and 60s. Going back any further than that, it's basically just Okinawan, Tode, or Karate. So the styles kind of come off, and they come off for the same reasons that they do today: ego and money. Somebody wants to take over. It's all politics. And what you want to be aware of, though, is somebody who started up a dojo after just doing a couple of years at his older dojo and then thinking he's going to make himself the grandmaster of his own style. He's only going to be making money. You're not likely to learn an awful lot from this person. Okay? So when you're looking at different styles of karate, look at how far they are from the original style, how much removed they are from the original style. Now, in the 60s, karate kind of got put out worldwide. It was mostly through the JKA, and the JKA had a wonderful instructor system. So you're going to put this out, and like everything else, if you're going to sell a product, you're going to make sure that the people selling it know everything about it and are as good as they can be. You don't want an idiot selling a product who doesn't know how it works or everything else, right? So then when they put these people out, they were the first generation of instructors to come out of the instructor school in Japan in the 60s, and basically they've all passed right now, or most of them have passed. We had Anoida, Shirai, Kase, Kanazawa, and a few others around, but they were the main ones. Now, I was lucky enough to train in an organization that Anoida ran, and that was the KUGB. Shirai went to Italy, Kase went to France, okay, we had Oishi as well, went to Germany. All of these people, they spread karate throughout the world and into Europe. Nishiyama and Okazaki went to the States, of course, and they were a little older, a little bit more experienced. In fact, Nishiyama was one of the founders of the instructors group, and to my mind was probably the best technician and the best teacher of karate I've ever met. And I trained a fair bit with Nishiyama, and I'll be forever grateful because it really opened up everything that was supposed to be karate, and it was. Nowadays, you're going to get a lot of different things. As I said, it's not something that you maybe just want to go around the corner and have a look at your local dojo. Find out who he is, who he trained with, what his qualifications are, with what organization. And hopefully it's a decent organization and you're going to get yourself a good instructor. Now, having said that, when you do have a look at a karate club, your first relationship is going to be, or the first impression is going to be with the instructor. Okay? So if he's patient and he's explaining it to you rather than just the costs or how much it's going to cost and all the rest of it, but basically how they train and what they're training for, then listen to it, okay? How long has this person been training? Nowadays, you're going to get people who've been training since they were 4 and 5 years old. And there's nothing wrong with that. They've probably got a good background in decent karate, and it shows that they've persevered through a lot of their training. If they go outside of their style or if they go outside of their club, to further their training is an important point. One thing I would say, and I know it's prevalent these days, is the teaching of karate online. To my mind, and this is my honest opinion, you can't teach. It'd be like trying to teach people how to swim online. Okay, it's all going to be very, very, very good until you throw them in the pool. It's just not going to work. First of all, you're not going to get the correction that you need you can't see what you're doing, what all of your body is doing. And most of these guys online, they have 30 or 40 people all on a little screen. You can't look at them. You can't give the corrections. You maybe adequately perform a technique or move the body in a certain way, but it's not karate, okay? Karate is going to come typically I'll teach an hour and a half class. We'll do a warm-up. Depending on what I'm teaching that night, I'll tailor the warm-up. But basically, it's going to get your muscles all loosened up from top to bottom. Sometimes we'll do a little bit of ladder work just to get your feet coordinated. So we do ladder work, which is quite intricate. And sometimes we'll just do basic cardio, warm-up, jumping jack, stretch. And then we'll do a fair bit of stretching to increase flexibility. And get the big muscles warmed up, get the full range of motion in your body, just so you don't tear or pull anything when we get moving, right? I don't see how you can do that in an online class, being honest. But hey, it's whatever turns your crank. Anyway, after that, I'll go into the subject that I'm going to teach for that night. So we'll usually start off with a few basic drills, and I'll correct people on basically their stance, their body movement, the correct path of the technique. And then maybe we'll work in a few combinations. If I want to go from defense to offense or offense to defense, we'll work out a few drills on what's happening there using plyometrics, body tension and pressure in the right body part, and enable you to explode into the next movement. And quite often throughout the class, I'll stop and I'll explain it. And I'll explain it slow, and I'll explain exactly why you are doing what you're doing from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from a standpoint of if this is going to work or if it's not going to work, and why, okay? So besides having the fast movements, you're going to have the slow movements, you're going to get your brain working, you're going to get your body working. That's just not going to happen in an online dojo. Now, the other thing is you have to tailor what you're doing to the people in front of you. So you may come in with a class schedule in mind, and I know people who write out the whole class, 15 minutes this, 15 minutes that, 15 minutes this. But for me, that doesn't work. I couldn't tell you what I'm going to teach. I have what I call macro cycles, which is I'm going to teach this for about a month, and it might be kata. I'm going to teach something else for the next month, and it might be kumite, it might be timing, it might be distance, okay? Distance is quite hard to teach because people have a mental block about getting close to other people, and teaching somebody control, especially a lower grade, is quite hard because naturally enough they don't want to punch anybody else in the face. But you need to learn to prosecute your technique and have enough confidence in yourself that you can stop that technique wherever you want, or you can follow through to the back of the target. So depending on what I'm teaching in a macro cycle, the micro cycles, okay, opposite, would be the small classes in between. So I may have a macro cycle that goes for 6 weeks, and then the nights that I teach, I'll have a little micro cycle that incorporates what's in the macro cycle, and this helps me develop it. For example, if I'm teaching distance, and timing and distance is really key to kumite, right? Sparring. So we'll start off teaching people the correct distance, and the correct distance is psychological. Everybody has their own private space. So basically, the correct distance is a hand's length away from you. You let anybody come any closer than that, they've crossed your fence, they've crossed your lines, they're in your territory, and you can react, okay? Because obviously it's a threat at anything closer than that. But one of the analogies I have for timing and distance is like a boy and a girl going on a date. So they're going to start off awkward, maybe not quite sitting next to each other. Then maybe they'll hold hands, which is a little closer, arm around the shoulder, a little closer, and then, of course, finally, maybe kissing or hugging or whatever. And this only feels comfortable with somebody you're comfortable with. But you've got to get past that, and you've got to make those distances comfortable for you with somebody you don't know, and somebody who may be a threat. And the final distance, of course, where you're real close, maybe where you're getting grabbed or you're getting an attack thrown at you, you've got to learn to move out of it as fast as you can, or move into it and snuff it out before it gets too serious. But modern day training, as I say, is a lot different. The challenges are a lot different. We were just told what to do and we did it. Nowadays, I tend to explain what we do and why we do it and why you need to do it the way that I'm telling you. Okay, so the correct path, the correct performance, the correct track of every technique has to be explained, and people these days want to know why. And that's a good thing, because it stretches you and it improves you as an instructor when you have to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. So this is a good way to improve as an instructor. And you shouldn't shy away from that. You should embrace it. Somebody asks you a question, remember, there's no stupid questions. There's tons of stupid answers, but there's no stupid questions. Okay, so somebody asks you a question, don't shy away from it. If you don't know, say, I'm going to ask my instructor and I'll get back to you on that. And, if you're old as I am, then I don't have anybody to ask that, but I'll look it up, all right? I'll look up several different sources or even more, and then I'll analyze them and I'll figure out which one best suits what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to explain. And this is a good way of doing it, but it's all personal, all right? It's hands-on, and that's instruction. Okay, so that's it from me. If you've got any comments, questions, or queries, let me know. Thank you.